Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wrestling Around. Welcome to Wrestling Around. My name is Kyle Clark, or K Clark KO. You might call me by my wrestling gimmick name. Well, we have a special guest from, of course, GTS. He'll be on shortly. Oh, hold on. 1 second. We'll be having a guest, a former. So I'm going to introduce at this time a former GTS United States champion, Tanner Wilson. Thank you for joining me.
Wait, whoa. Did I hear United States champion?
Sorry, IC champion. IC champion, sorry.
I'm just messing.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Hey, Kyle, how you doing today, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad we finally got the time to do this. Oh, let me...
Hold on.
There we go.
You joined with your real name. That's why if you saw the stream back, I basically cut the camera out so nobody would know your real name.
Dang, shoot name. All right.
Yeah, because that happened with KBA before, and I had to blur it out last time. I'm not
all
joking.
good, man. All good.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So, how you been doing?
I'm good, dude. I might seem a little stuffy here and there still because it's the after effects from the surgery and whatnot. I just had the splints taken out the other day, so.
Oh, I think I need to change the caption then. That's my bad. So hold on. When you were speaking, you kind of like cutting out, but
cutting out.
Yeah.
Let me. All right. No, I was saying. Everything's been going really good, dude. Surgery went really well. I might, sound a little stuffy here and there still, just because everything's swollen. I just had the splints taken out a couple days ago. So, but everything's going really good, dude.
All right, it's been good on my side as well. I just got off of school. It's been chill with them getting to know my teachers and my classmates and all that. So it's been all that. It's been all chill, man. Is it? Oh, you were cutting out again.
Yeah, I'm gonna unplug my microphone and see if that's the issue. So it might be crappy laptop quality now.
I have a desktop that I had for over 9 years that it says a Windows 8, like the past outdated, about to be outdated Windows operating system. So you're good, man.
Yeah, no, I bought this laptop a couple years ago because my desktop, kind of crapped the bed. And at the time where I was living down in Florida, didn't really have room for a full-on desktop in my room. So I, got this little gaming laptop, but I don't really, use it too much for that stuff. I'll just, I'll play a couple video games here or there. But
that's where I was born, in Florida.
Really? Really?
Yeah, I was raised for like about over 10 years until we moved up here.
Oh, nice. I lived in Orlando for about 4 years.
That area.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So for like the past couple of weeks when you were last on GTS, when you were in a IC title match, when you defended your title again in a handicap match, which was supposed to be you and Goldstein, but Uncle Jim inadvertently wanted him to be involved in the match. So after the match, basically you had to attend to your knee, I believe, or was it your
my ankle?
Yeah,
so
that same area.
A few weeks before that match at Sucker Slam with Goldstein, and the rest of the anti-Grim guys came out and beat me down a little bit. And Goldstein took a chair, wrapped it around my ankle, slammed another chair on top of it, and I had a minor hairline fracture. So that's why I was kind of off GTS for a bit. Did those fun little comedy ref spots where I was refing from the wheelchair and whatnot, and just trying to get stay under Goldstein's skin a little bit there until Suck a Slam. And I wasn't 100% good for Suck a Slam, but I knew what I was getting myself into. Signed some waivers with Grimm and said, "Hey, look, dude, if I hurt myself anymore, that's on me. But I was a fighting champion. Like, that's what I do."
Well, like after the match, I think it was you after the Intercontinental Championship match where they were both beating you down, and then Grim somehow got involved and tried to help you. But when you decided that when Grim was down, he's like, "No, I need to tend to my ankle." I think, and I heard that you were doing better when it comes to like with the nose and everything, and that's good to hear. Moving on from that, from when you started out in the wrestling business, who were you inspired by to get into the ring and start wrestling?
Oh man, Eddie Guerrero. That was the guy who sold me on wrestling to begin with. I was kind of a latecomer. I watched some of the Attitude Era, but it would just be like if I was over a friend's house or whatnot, I'd be like, "Oh, cool, The Rock's on TV," like whatever. But then I'd say around 2003, I saw a random match, and it was Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio on SmackDown, and that match sold me on wrestling. It was the coolest thing I ever saw, especially Rey Mysterio. And then as I watched more, I fell in love with Eddie Guerrero. Like, I fell in love with that lie, that cheat and steal character, and everything like that. So when I started wrestling, I started out with my friends on a trampoline back in the day, and my name was the Manslayer, which was a take on like my version of the Undertaker. However, my finishing move was the 5-star frog splash, and that's because of Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam. So.
Yeah, I see. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. They had a good rivalry back in 2005, where that SummerSlam with the custody of Dominic and playing that out, where Dominic's wrestling now and teaming with Rey Mysterio to actually have the SmackDown Tag Team Championships by their side, which is pretty good storytelling to say the least.
Right.
So moving on from that, when this anti-Grimm movement basically was riling up when you were into GTS on the GTS roster, what was your honest opinion about them? Like Goldstein, Isaac Scythe, Jungle Jim, Tony Cheney, all those people that later joined the anti-Grimm movement.
I honestly thought it was really disrespectful of them. The reason why I signed, and I said this in a promo I cut on Twitter when Grimm and I were feuding for the IC belt, and I respect the heck out of Grimm. Now, do I think Grimm has some shady qualities to him? Yeah, but he does what he does. He does whatever it takes to win, and I can't knock on that because I used to do that too. I did whatever it took to win. But Grimm gives us a platform to do what we love for his fans. And it's not just like he has 100, 200 fans that show up at this local indie show. He has 1.2, 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube, gets, 40 to 60, 70,000 views within the first week or two of the videos being posted. And then after that, some of those videos shoot up to over 100,000 views. And he lets us do that. So for guys like Goldstein and Jungle Jim, especially Jungle Jim surprised me because I've known Jim for a long time, way before GTS. We both came to GTS, and he gives us a platform to do this. And those guys saying like, "Oh, this is unfair," and what Grimm does, it's Grimm's show. People come to watch Grimm and let us do what we do on his show. So. In my opinion, it was just really disrespectful of them to do that, and that's why I sided with Team Grimm.
I see. That's been actually been building up the past couple of weeks. They and like I
Yeah.
think Goldstein said himself, it's going to be growing every single day by the minute. But move when you first won the Intercontinental Championship, how was the moment feeling like to you when you won the Intercontinental Championship?
Um, a gratitude. Um, like I said, I started off wrestling in like 2003, 2004 with my buddies on a trampoline, but I started wrestling professionally in around 2008, 2009, and I've never won a title before. And that's because, I was always overlooked and, underutilized, or I was just the guy who gets thrown in there last minute. Um, so for Grim to put me in that opportunity to win the belt, again, for millions of subscribers on YouTube, I felt a lot of gratitude in that because I felt like, 17 years of doing this, it finally all meant something.
It's basically living behind. My father said this to me recently: live beyond your mean. Don't live beyond your means. Um,
Yeah.
when if your body can't take the punishment anymore, just like at least take a break for a little while and have some type of recovery back and do what you love. So that's
Right.
it's,
Which, actually, those 4 years that I moved down to Florida were really good for that because I was killing myself over and over. I mean, I kind of saw a bit of the podcast he did with Cade and Goldstein. And
yes.
I used to do a lot of dumb stuff back in the day, same like as Vinny Cade. Like, he's one of the guys, when he was talking, he knew, me and Cade go back quite a few years too. And man, I was landing on my neck in all sorts of bad positions. So when I moved to Florida, I took pretty much like a 4 year break from wrestling, other than probably wrestled like 2 or 3 matches in that time. And I went to a training school for a couple months just to kind of shake off some ring rust. So, like you said, like, taking that time off to really heal everything was really, beneficial. And then, when I came to GTS, I wrestled those few matches with Jungle Jim. And around the same time, the doctors discovered I had stenosis in my neck when I got a stinger. So, that's why I had to take some time again and rehab my neck. And, a few months later, doctor said, everything looked really good as long as, nothing gets worse. You're good to go, So it made me really wrestle a different way and change my style, to take care of, my head and my neck. You know, Plus, I'm not getting any younger, so it takes a little longer for me to recover after matches now too.
So, what what was the inspiration to like? How did you come up with your finisher? Of course, like some type of kick called the Kang kick that you used in
Yeah.
GTS in the later GTS matches. Who was basically is the inspiration to come up with that type of finisher for your like this basic kick move and your
So,
moveset?
I'm not exactly the biggest guy in wrestling.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned in school is, I should come up with a move that looks good for me. It wouldn't make, sense for me to constantly try and lift up a guy like Grimm or Goldstein or Vlad, these bigger guys when I'm a smaller guy. It's cool to do that every now and then, but, not every time. So, I grew up on the Mortal Kombat games. I mean, those first few games came out when I was like 2, 3, 4 years old, and I'm dating myself right now. So yeah, those games came out when I was really young. So I grew up, and obviously, Liu Kang was the main character of the game, and whatnot. So I always just kind of did that move, like that running kick to begin with. We used to call it the John Woo kick. I don't know why. Who came up with that name? Just my buddies called it the John Woo kick. And one day I just yelled Liu Kang kick for no reason, and everyone just went bananas over it. So it just kind of stuck, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to make this my thing. But then when I came to GTS, I saw that Hop does the Claymore. So I was like, I have to change it a bit because I don't want to do the exact same move as do hop, and so that's where I added the kick to the head part instead, to kind of make it my own.
I see. Like I get that. I actually played Mortal Kombat a couple times myself. I like how it like resembles the Liu Kang's like bicycle kick, where he just like, oh sorry,
Yeah,
I'm kicked my table. that was
you're good. But yeah, no, that's exactly like the running bicycle kick thing that he does. So I just yelled Liu Kang kick one time, and everyone started chanting like fatality, finish him, all those things that just kind of stuck. So whatever the next show was, someone's like, yeah, can you hit me with that Liu Kang kick? And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's call it the Liu Kang kick.
So, moving on to your early days in the wrestling business, when you were attending wrestling school and learning the ropes, and taking your first bumps, what were the moves that you were comfortable and uncomfortable taking or receiving?
So at that point in time, like I said, I had a lot of disregard for my body. So I wasn't really nervous about taking anything back then. And before I went to school, like I said, my buddies and I, we started off wrestling on a trampoline. Then, we built some bases out of like mattresses and carpet padding and those kinds of things. So by the time I got to wrestling school, the biggest thing that people struggle with in wrestling school is learning how to fall, because it goes against your natural instincts. You always want to throw your hands back when you fall, but in wrestling, if you put your hands back, you can break your arm, doing that. So learning how to fall like that. But because my buddies and I, we did stuff on the trampoline, did stuff on bases. When I was younger, I also wanted to be like a professional stuntman. So, my friends would choreograph like fight scenes in general. I already was kind of okay with falling at that point. So, I was pretty comfortable doing everything. It was just doing cardio. That was the only thing I hated.
Well, it's good to take the part pumping, but not too much,
Yeah, no. I mean, I played sports all my life, but cardio was never my favorite thing to do. Even today, I ran a mile, and I'm like, oh god, I hate this.
Yeah, I can feel the pain. I used to run on the treadmill for like I think an hour straight or like half hour trying to burn some calories. I was trying to do something in my spare time when I was bored. But when you first came to GTS, what were your first impressions?
Yeah, I was really impressed by everything. Because I have heard of GTS before through Jungle Gym and Big Vin and a couple of the other guys that I used to wrestle with years ago. But I just kind of looked at it as like, oh, it's just at the time I was like, oh, it's just kind of like this backyard looking promotion, and it's just it's silly, whatever. But I hate to say this, I agree with Goldstein on this one from your podcast with him. But during that time, there was nothing going on because of the pandemic. There wasn't a lot of wrestling going on. So I hit them up and I said, hey, you know what? I'm looking to get back into wrestling. I figured this would be a good place. Character development was always my weakest point. I was always a straight wrestler, like not really good on the character part. So it was like, this would be a good place for me to, really learn that. And man, the moment I got there, it was like everyone welcomed me with open arms. There was people that I never met who knew me, and I didn't know how until Jimmy and Vinny and them explained like, oh yeah, like I used to show them like all our old like videos from back in the day and stuff. So like it was really cool. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Tony Cheney knows who I am. Like this is pretty cool, And then I met Grim, and then Grim's just as funny off camera as he is on camera. Grim. When it comes to Grim, there's no separation of the character. What you see on YouTube, that is Grim 24/7. So it was. I was really impressed with how everything was done, how he ran everything, and I was like, he gave me an opportunity in a match against Jim. It was kind of like a tryout match for me. and he really liked things. He asked me to come back, and I was like, yeah, dude, I would absolutely love to come back. And now I've been there for a little over like a year and 3 months now.
Well, that is great. How people actually like recognized you even before you started to wrestle on GTS on YouTube.
Yeah,
That that
that's
is
cool.
good to know. People that you knew that you didn't know knew you well personally, but
Right.
so moving on to like current events during the wrestling business. You might have heard this during the you might have heard this. What is it? Vince McMahon and his buddy Bruce Pritchard took full production of NXT and
Yeah.
introducing NXT 2.0. What was your like reaction when you heard the news about Vince McMahon? It's like, oh, I'm gonna take NXT, and I'm sorry, that's a lot of people impersonate Vince.
I was gonna say that was actually a pretty good impression. That's such good shit. So I'm the type of person where I'm always willing to give things a chance. So I mean, obviously, SmackDown's been really good. Hands down, SmackDown's been really good WWE wise.
I agree.
Raw kind of has good days and it got bad days, good days and bad days. It's a little all over the place. But NXT is a completely different roster, right? So I'm willing to give it a chance. I caught some highlights from last night, and I didn't really have anything negative to say other than I didn't understand why LA Knight was in 2 matches and then lost both matches. But other than that, it's gonna take some getting used to. But because I've been to a couple of the NXT shows when it was at Full Sail. Because I was living down there, and I had a couple wrestling buddies down there. So we went to a couple of the shows, and it was really cool. Getting to see Ciampa, Gargano, and all them up front in person. Fun fact: so I actually met Ciampa, Nick Aldis, Mickey James, and all them because of working at Disney. I got to meet them quite a few times. They were just random guests at Disney, and so at that time I was working in the Magic Kingdom parking lot, and one night I see Nick Aldis walking out of the park, and I just look up and I walked up to him and I was like, I hate to be rude, but are you Nick Aldis by chance? And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, yeah, I'm Nick Aldis. And my wife Mickey's 10 feet behind me. And I just went up to him. I was like, look, man, as someone who's been in wrestling before, I want to say I appreciate everything you do for this business. Shook his hand and kept it at that. And then one day I was walking around Disney Springs, and Johnny and Candace were just walking around Disney Springs one day. So again, the fan in me wants to go up to them and be like, oh my God, Johnny and Candace. But the wrestler in me is like, nah, respect them. They're just people. But yeah, no, dude, I'm excited to see. There was some good stuff. Whatever Rex Steiner's name, Braun something. I'm excited to see what he's gonna do. I love the Steiners, the old school wrestling. So I know he's got a lot to give. So pretty stoked to see that.
Well, that was a surprise when you met with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Nick Aldis at Disney. That's if NXT was right next to where you were working at the time at Disney.
Full Sail was only about 35, 40 minutes on the other side of Orlando. I was on the one side of Orlando, and Full Sail was just on the opposite side. But yeah, it would only be 30, 35, 40-minute drive to go see them.
So to tell my personal opinion about this, I don't have an actually real beef against Vince, but a lot of people interpret Vince as this guy who puts old guys over. Is like, I'm gonna screw you. I'm not going to put younger guys over. And Triple H is gonna be like, I am the game, and you're going to let me run NXT. I honestly honestly, I hope Vince McMahon does good with it, even though he's not really as interactive as Triple H is with the NXT talent or will be,
Right.
but that is yet to be seen. So
Yeah.
moving on from that, there is a like it was hinted at a triple threat match. You said recently touched on SmackDown with a triple threat match. I know this is going to be happening at Extreme Rules, at least Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and Paul Heyman basically being in the middle. Like, what do I do? Do I turn on Roman
Yeah.
Reigns for Brock Lesnar, or do I stick with the Tribal Chief? Uh, 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 my name is Paul Heyman, and I'm just gonna just runs out. I don't know. I don't know. It's just caught in the crossfire. But there's a triple threat match that the Demon King Finn Balor recently returned on SmackDown, so it's a good sight to see. Out of the match, if it happened, but if the triple threat happened or a 1-on-1 Roman Brock Finn Demon Finn, who would you pick to win that bout?
Oh man. If it's a one-on-one, I'm gonna probably say the controversial thing. I'd rather see Brock Lesnar win. Just because I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this Roman Reigns character. But if he beats Lesnar, then it's kind of like, okay, now who beats Reigns? Reigns has run through absolutely everybody at this point, unless the only other big swerve I can see is somehow them unifying the belts, Reigns versus Big E at one point, at like Survivor Series. And, Big E being a double champ or something like that, which would be really awesome. If it's a triple threat, though, I'd love to see Demon Balor win. I feel like ever since he won the Universal title and then, got injured, he just never got the chance to really be on top again until he went back down to NXT. So I would love to see him get a second chance at that.
All right. So, but if I had to pick one of them, if it was a one-on-one, I would say honestly, Roman Reigns has held the title for about a year, but doesn't mean that Brock Lesnar actually hasn't held a title for over a year. That which he has over with the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship, which basically is like there's a little pattern going on here, like where Brock Lesnar comes back, he has to fight for a title and win it, and then just like drop it to an up and coming guy, which I do not discourage, but that is at least a good thing to do, like he did to Drew McIntyre at last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one, I had to say I would have to say, like you said, Brock Lesnar, just because somebody has to beat him at some point. If it was a triple threat, I would say Demon Finn Balor because he always says, I am the first Universal Champion, because he hasn't really gotten to defend the title or actually lose the title, like he's been saying.
No.
I mean,
he had that little one-off match with Lesnar, a couple of years ago. But other than that, we all knew who was winning because we didn't believe in him at that time. So
Brock Lesnar is still a box office draw, like Goldberg is, but Goldberg's kind of more controversial than Brock. In my opinion.
Well, because here's the difference between Brock and Goldberg, though. While Goldberg's a draw, he's his age is starting to show, unfortunately. And I think ever since the Saudi Arabia match with Taker, that's, I think, where people really kind of turned on him and was like, yo, he just almost killed Taker, dropping him safely on his head like that. So, whereas Lesnar can go. He's still in some of the best shape of his life, and but he knows his limits too. He knows what works in a match for him. So that's why all of his matches are just like these giant car wreck. They only last 5 to 7 minutes, but in those 5 to 7 minutes, it's explosive, and it works.
So Goldberg is the best. my opinion, is the best wrestler because of his WCW reign and his 2016 return. Not because of he botching all over the place like he does currently, where people say.
Yeah.
But uh, well, Goldberg at least is he can't get out of it. He has to keep fighting at least 2 more matches before he leaves WWE, or at least
Yeah.
contract. You might have heard. But Brock Lesnar, like you said, he could still go. He has like roughly a few more years left in him before he retires.
That's what I would say too.
Because Randy could do a little more than that. He's a Raw Tag Team Champion, and recently went after Lashley, and I think you've seen the rest, and the rest is history. But moving on from that, what did you you touched on when you watched NXT, the little highlights. What did you think of the recent Indy Hartwell and Dexter Loomis wedding at the time at
I
NXT?
loved it, man. I enjoy the hokey side of wrestling still. So I think for me, what made it wasn't even so much the wedding, but it was like everyone's reactions. Like Austin Theory, right? Just him in the background. When Dexter finally spoke words, because I don't even think back to before he was in NXT. I think he was in TNA. I don't even think he spoke then too, if I'm not mistaken. So like, but for a guy to never speak any words, and then when you see like Johnny and Candice's face, I think that made the whole segment for me, was just everyone's reactions throughout the whole thing. And oh my God, we actually had a wedding that didn't get ruined in wrestling.
Yeah.
I think it was the first wedding besides Macho Man and Elizabeth to have a wedding that didn't get ruined.
I don't remember that one, but I remember a couple of them where I think it was Matt Hardy and Lita when they were supposed. I think it was Test. There was one of them definitely Test and Stephanie, where Triple H was like, I secretly kissed him and married him behind your back, Test, and basically just spiraled out of control
and
for
then
Test.
With, I believe, Matt Hardy and Lita, Kane came out or something like that. Like, yeah, every wedding, AJ Lee, Daniel Bryan, AJ Lee turned on him and became like the GM of SmackDown or Raw or something like that at the time. So like every wrestling wedding since Macho and Miss Elizabeth has like gone completely off the rails. So I was like, wow, it actually worked. Nothing happened.
So this may be a little late, but do you watch AEW or like occasionally?
I do occasionally. That's just with wrestling in general because like I said to you in messages, like with my old job, it was very hard for me to do stuff.
Okay.
I was working 2:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. at nights over at the hospital. So, and I never had Wednesdays off, so I never really got to watch AEW. I got to watch it in the beginning though when it first happened because I was off of work then, and I really enjoyed it. It was cool. It was something new, and then obviously now Punk, Bryan, Adam Cole, like all these people going there. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm definitely going to go out of my way to try and watch this, now that I don't have to worry about time constraints like that with my new job. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah. So I finally got to watch it weekly now. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So at the time when CM Punk returned on, what was it, on Rampage in Chicago? Yeah. What was your initial reaction when you heard that he came into Rampage in his hometown in Chicago and the eventual match with Darby Allin? Hold on, is it working? Oh,
we good?
Oh, it's unstable for a second. It's just cutting out.
Yeah,
again.
All right. No, my first reaction was good for him. so many people have given him crap for leaving wrestling the way he did. And I was always behind what he did because mental and physical health first all the time. And if you're in a situation where you're that unhappy and your body is that drained and everything like that, yeah, do what you got to do. Then he tried his hand in MMA. Again, I give him credit for doing that. A lot of people will talk the talk, but they wouldn't walk the walk. He talked the talk, got his ass kicked a couple times, but I mean, at least he, tried it. And then, with AEW, right time, right place for everything to happen. Live crowds just starting to come back, at a bigger capacity again. And I knew once they announced Chicago, I'm like, oh, there's no way he's not going to be there. Like, there's absolutely no way he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Chicago really does have some of the best wrestling fans. I traveled to Chicago for a weekend right before the pandemic hit, and I went to a random indie show. It was just bored one night, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Saw it was an indie show, and there was who was on it? Kylie Ray. Frank the Clown, my friend Tony Deppen was on the show. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go check this out. Man, there was like 600-700 people like packed into this giant thing from bell to bell of every single match. Everyone was into it and loud. And I'm like, Chicago's got such a good crowd. Like, I'm so jealous of that.
When you first initially, what you said earlier, what you first mentioned that CM Punk, when you first thought it's like, no, he's not going to return, and then when he made his return, I was shocked honestly because I was talking to I was actually talking to Shamar on the same night as AEW Rampage, and he was like. Nah, he said he wasn't gonna return, but obviously he did now. Is it is it working? Is it audio cut out?
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I just heard that though.
Oh, what did you hear? Though.
I just heard you say AEW Rampage, and then it cut out, and then right now.
Yeah, the Zoom
that's all I've heard.
Zoom's kind of complicated sometimes. It
has
its quirks. So what I said was, I had earlier episode of the podcast when I had finally was able to interview Shamar and have a good time with an ECW original Chili Willy. That's a lesser known ECW.
I've heard of Chili Willy before. I've heard of Chili Willy. I actually just watched a video like a day or two ago on like top 10 ECW wrestlers you never heard of, and his name actually got brought up on that.
Okay, yeah, we had him come on, and Shamar. We discussed it, and I don't remember a lot, but I remember Shamar saying like I don't think he's gonna basically pop up on AEW, but to much our surprise, he popped up. He changed the culture, to put it lightly.
No, he did. He did. I mean, because between getting Punk and Bryan at the same time, two of the most sought after, free agents in all of wrestling right now. I mean, you can even see in their ratings. Their ratings, I think, are over, a million, 1 point whatever now. Whereas I know for the longest time they were even, struggling to reach that 1 point. Now they're consistently staying over that mark, and and now with the addition of Adam Cole too, and if rumors are true, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, when their contracts are up, Bray Wyatt, if all these are true, we're in line for the next true Monday Night War.
Yeah, when I first heard when Bryan Danielson debuted for AEW, was it? I believe it was All Out, that pay per view.
Yeah, it was at the very end of the show.
And when Daniel Bryan, I believe, just came out to All Elite, the Elite, where he tried his fare against the Elite, against Omega, the Young Bucks, and all those people. Before then, when he was in WWE after his match, like before the match with Oh, darn audio.
It's so funny. The moment that you say the word audio, it finally comes back.
That's what a coincidence it is.
Yeah,
So
it's like both times you said, "Oh, audio cut out,
it's like,
audio," and like that's when it comes back out.
It's like the what is it? The old thing that they still sell surprisingly. What is it? The clapper. Just like instead of just saying audio, just say clap.
Yeah.
It just turns off and off. But what I said was when Daniel Bryan, I was shocked when Daniel Bryan debuted for AEW, like everybody else was. But before he had his match or during the match with Roman Reigns on SmackDown, the last shot at the Universal Championship, I thought he was going to go to Raw, but
So did I.
I mean, he said he's gonna leave SmackDown. It's not gonna say. It should have said he's gonna leave WWE if he does not leave. Like Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman says, like my client Brock Lesnar will leave WWE if he loses in a fatal 5-way match at SummerSlam. That's
right.
I mean,
well, I think the thing was during that time frame, they were in contract negotiations, probably with him. So they were probably hoping, obviously, that he was going to stay with the company, and that he probably just needed some time off. He just want to spend time with his wife and his kids and everything like that. Be off the road for a little bit. So if they did re-sign him, I would assume exactly that's what it would have been. He would have probably went to Raw at that point. But I guess AEW's deal was just a little bit sweeter. Apparently, they're going to allow him to wrestle, in Japan and Mexico and all these places because they have the working relationships with those companies. So that was, that's his offer. He doesn't, because he's almost 40. He's getting up there. So he probably wants like one good last run to wrestle all these guys he's never got to wrestle over the last, however, decade or whatever he's been in WWE for.
I get that because Daniel Bryan used to wrestle all over the place. I believe like Ring of Honor. Yep. I don't know if it was TNA. I only watched his WWE career, so correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think he ever went to TNA, but he was in Ring of Honor. He was in Evolve when that was like brand new. He was one of those first guys that were there. Yeah, I mean, he used to wrestle all over the country and stuff.
Well, good point that you actually brought up Evolve. I had Lauren Spiral on the show, and was the first ever guest. Well, the original guest, the first one that you might see is James Ellsworth, but get to that in a moment. Well, in Lauren Spiral, when he worked in the ring crew of Evolve, there was this cage match. I don't know if it was, I don't remember the two participants, but the cage walls, just all of them fell down. And during the middle that's what he told me. So that was like shocking for him to say that. I was like, what the? It was like, I seen like cage walls fall down because of like Bobby Lashley, like just like getting thrown into the cage wall and from that falling down, or Braun Strowman just running power slam Big Show into the cage wall while he just walks out. Well, and obviously the controversial one where Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar fought in a steel cage where Brock retained his title even though it was really controversial. Audio. What? Audio is apparently our new buzzword now.
Oh, dude, that's 3 for 3 now. Audio.
All right, so
you literally cannot write this.
This is not.
You cannot write this. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, this is not part of the storyline. This is just Zoom. This is just Zoom just screwing us over of the audio portion.
Right.
So what I pointed on of the controversial cage match at Greatest Royal Rumble, where Brock Lesnar retained his title even though he didn't touch the floor. Roman Reigns just like walked out and touched the floor, but it's kind of controversial to say the least of that match.
Yeah, I honestly don't really remember that match, to be honest. I don't really go out of my way to watch the Saudi shows. So I mean, I only knew, obviously the whole Undertaker Goldberg thing because that was, kind of a
So
mess to say the least.
that I think that was.
And
Oh, go
Titus
ahead.
World Slide. Everyone knows Titus World Slide.
Yeah, during that
But
50-man rumble.
yeah, but other than that, I didn't go out my way to watch the Saudi shows.
All right. So during the throughout the entirety of your career so far, what was your favorite match that you wrestled, either at GTS, the indie circuit, or that you were just jumping on around on the trampoline with your friends doing some matches? I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Oh man. I have quite a few for a bunch of different reasons though. GTS wise, I have to say my match with Jungle Jim at Sucka Slam last year. That was probably like my favorite match I've ever really wrestled in. As because everyone was so hyped for it the whole time. It was really good. Also, just a couple months ago, my match with Lucky Leo. I got to do a lot of stuff. Lucky Leo is another guy. I've known Leo since 2008, I think, and it was nice. I haven't wrestled him in probably like 6-7 years, so it was really nice to be able to do some of those flippy cruiserweight moves that I'm not used to doing anymore. So that was a lot of fun. Oh boy. There was a backyard company I used to wrestle for called EWA. They were up in I wouldn't say upstate New Jersey, but they were kind of close to New York City. And I had a match. It was for their mid card belt called the Tri-State title, and it was against the Lightning Kid Joey Adams, who wrestles at UWA Elite now. And I think it was the first time me and him ever had a one-on-one match, and I think that was probably the first match that I felt like really proud of. Like, this is a match that if it wasn't in a backyard, I'd put on like my wrestling resume, and it'd show promoters. It had everything from the story to the technical aspect. I even had a guy by the name of Eric Corvus. He's a big local guy in New Jersey, especially at the time. And I was like, hey, dude, can you like watch this match and critique it? He came back to me. He was like, there was absolutely nothing I could think of to critique in that match. So like that match will always like stand out to me too.
So, out of the people that you wrestled, which out of the people that you wrestled and some more, if the WWE matches that you've seen over the years when you were still little and getting into the wrestling business, which people would you like to wrestle, like that you've seen on television, like Daniel Bryan, like you recently said, and all that? And if you actually wrestled like a guy from WWE or Ring of Honor, AEW, you could elaborate on any like stories that you might tell, that you might know.
Yeah, definitely Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor, Kenny Omega. Oh gosh. Oh man, there's just so many possibilities of guys I would love to wrestle and work, and mainly I would love to even the chance to work a match with any of those guys. Not because it would be a banger or anything, but like just to learn from them. Those guys have been around for so long on a professional level. And I mean, even 17 years into this, there's still stuff that I'm learning every day. So those are guys that like I could really learn stuff from. They're not even my favorite wrestlers, but just the opportunity to work them, that would be awesome.
When you were still learning the ropes, you of course like knew the art of selling, and you know how to sell. And hold on, did the audio cut out again, or is audio? Is it audio?
Emmett.
Audio.
Wait, did it
Audio.
work?
I don't know. I said audio twice, and then I said audio now, and then it was where it was
Oh
like
my
the
God.
picture was moving. So
Yeah. So I heard when you were learning the ropes.
when you were okay, what I said was when you were still learning the ropes and knew how to wanted to take bumps and take your burst bumps and knew how to do these cruiserweight like moves. Um, what type of match is your specialty, or like prefer a match type to wrestle a guy? What type of match type?
Um, Man, so throughout my career, it's always changed. So when I first started, I really loved doing the cruiserweight flippy stuff, but that's because I was a little bit more agile back then, and I'm a small guy now, but I was.
Dag nabbit. Audio. Wait, I was. I think you may hear me, but I don't think I hear you. That. Oh, does it work? The audio.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay.
We'll count that. We'll count that as a half because I had to say audio and then do the little clap and then it kind of worked. So yeah, we're at 4.5 out of 5 on that one. But yeah, so early on in my career, I really enjoyed the cruiserweight stuff because like I was saying, so I weighed like 120 pounds back then. I was a twig. I was small, and so in everyone I wrestled for the most part was always bigger than me. So I loved doing head scissors, hurricane ranas, dragon ranas off the top rope. Anything that allowed me to flip, I loved doing. But then as I, moved on a little bit, the hardcore scene of wrestling started to pop up. Like CZW started getting pretty popular, and I lived not too far from Pennsylvania, where CZW, was based out of. So, my friends and I, we went through, a hardcore phase. At one point in time, I was the mastermind of a tournament called Ring of Mayhem, which was our version of like Tournament of Death, essentially. And I am like the least deathmatch guy you'll ever meet, and I wanted to put together a deathmatch tournament. We did one reunion one last year and went really well. But yeah, so we got into that. But now, and where I am in my career with my neck and everything like that, I appreciate technical wrestling a hell of a lot more. That's why I want to work guys like Daniel Bryan and Finn Balor and all these guys who are really good technical wrestlers. What question you asked before? Someone I would have loved to wrestle in the past would have been William Regal. William Regal was probably, actually, when I probably think about it, if I could pick someone from any era, William Regal would be my number one guy I would want to wrestle.
He's currently I think it was the GM of NXT now. He's still active in the wrestling business.
Yes. But he's the type of guy, I mean, you gave him anything. You wanted him to be serious, he was serious. You wanted him to be a wrestler, he was a wrestler. You wanted him to be funny, he was funny. Like, and whatever they gave him, like, he just ran with it. Like, he didn't seem like the type of guy who just complained, oh man, I don't want to do this. It's going to embarrass me. He's like, no, shit, get me on TV, I'll do it.
I gotta agree with you because I saw a promo that William Regal did pulled on Triple H back in the Ruthless Aggression era. I think it was 2005, where Eugene was still a thing, and William Regal was like, I will want to battle you, and I will take everything that I have, or whatever he said back then. He's like, I will take every single blood and every single. I'm stumbling over my words. It's unexplainable. It's like that promo back then was like real fire back then. I wish that could return back in this. I think they tried to do the Attitude Era return with the Raw Underground you might have heard of.
Yeah.
But that didn't really succeed.
Just didn't work out.
Like they tried to bring Dabba-Kato, but Dabba-Kato basically got squashed by Braun, and he's just Commander Aziz. So uh, honestly, like,
Yeah, that's the problem. They build stars or they try and build stars, and the moment that one like one crowd will love them, and then they go to the next town, and if that crowd doesn't love them, it's just like the push is dead. It's gone. It's not like I feel like really the last couple people they allowed organically build was like Punk and Bryan, where they started after crowd after crowd after crowd was just getting behind them, even though they didn't want them to be the top guys. They were the top guys.
well, they WWE management has to respect the fact that the fans like their own wrestlers, and they would recommend to be pushed and see in the different title scenes.
Yeah,
And
like I remember going to a show, and it was after a pay-per-view, and I want to say Punk and Bryan were the main champions at the time. I could be wrong. And Zack Ryder was the IC or US champ, and the three of them started off the show, and the amount of cheering that all three of them were getting, like it was one of the loudest crowd reactions I ever heard. And then not long after that is when they did the whole thing with Zack Ryder where he got hurt and then he was in the wheelchair and he got thrown off the stage. It was like they literally took gold with Ryder and about him. And then, years later, they gave him that WrestleMania moment where he won the IC belt in the ladder match at WrestleMania. And the pop he got was insane. Just for him to lose that the next day on Raw. And I'm like, that made absolutely no sense. Did you not just hear the reaction this guy got? Like, the fans want to be behind him. Push him. But I don't know.
That over like the years, we're like we mentioned a lot of Daniel Bryan. Like Daniel Bryan is the guy like people like to get behind, even though he was like a heel at the time, like where he was having the anger management classes with Kane and all that, and where they met.
Oh, dude, those are some of the funniest segments ever. Team Hell No was some of the best modern day tag team segments I've seen in a while.
I think they were trying to replicate that when the 24/7 championship picture was Akira Tozawa, R-Truth, and Reggie.
Oh yeah,
it's like where Akira and R-Truth were just like, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. You. It's kind of like similar to that.
As funny as like R-Truth is, like you can't replicate what Daniel Bryan and Kane did. Like you can't.
I mean, that's kind of like relating that in my perspective, but I respect your opinion. So moving on from that, throughout the people that you already wrestled in GTS and going through the championship reigns that you had already, what people in GTS would you like to wrestle that you haven't wrestled yet?
Oh, number one answer, James Gray.
James Gray.
That is the number one answer, and I've been trying to get that match for, probably almost the better part of the full year that I've been there. Him and I have talked about scrapping, so much, and I don't know why Grimm hasn't booked it. Not even on Dark, he hasn't booked it yet, But James and I have very similar philosophies and everything when it comes to wrestling. We like that strong style and we like that technical and everything like that. So, him and I will put on a banger. Ace Hitman Jones, I would love to have a one-on-one with Ace. I don't think I think I might have been in some multi-mans with him, but I've never had a proper one-on-one with him. Lawrence Spiral would be fun. That's another guy that I asked Grimm to work before. It just, timing with everything, with my nose and stuff getting broken, just that didn't work out. But yeah, those would be my top three guys that I haven't worked yet that I would love to work: James Gray, Ace, and Lawrence Spiral.
Well, I guess if the leader of the Bonnet Club answered your challenge, I'm willing to see it.
Hey, I mean, I'm a part of the Beard Bonnet Club. When it comes out, I got a beard bonnet just for that. So, I definitely support everything that James Gray's been doing with that. So,
So, out of the matches that you watched during your childhood or your later years before you got into the wrestling business, which match or which superstar basically just like every single match he starred in, but besides Eddie Guerrero, that you were like, huh, I like to be him, and like, what was your favorite match overall when you watched? You were still watching. Is, it, is audio audio? Oh,
Audio.
audio.
Oh my god, it works.
That's the buzzword. Zoom is listening.
Oh.
Zoom is listening.
Right.
It's like audio.
So
They're not.
I heard you say besides Eddie Guerrero. That was
So
the last thing.
so like you pointed on like how Eddie Guerrero basically inspired you to get into the wrestling business. Out of the matches that you watched from WWE, ECW, WCW, or TNA or whatever, out of the matches that you've seen, which one would be the like one of your best matches that you ever saw? As it doesn't have to be the best.
I have two. My first is Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 20. That is my absolute favorite match of all time. I think that this ring psychology and everything of the match was perfect from top to bottom. I don't know how that didn't get a 5-star rating, in my opinion. But it just, that match was everything I wanted from it. And then I guess it's technically two, but both Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches.
Oh, that is
those two Mania matches were like,
well,
oh my god! I was jaw dropped by the end of both of those matches.
I don't think I've seen the. I knew Guerrero and Angle had a match, but I haven't seen the entire thing. But I did see the two Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches, and I gotta agree with you. That was undeniable. Like where Shawn Michaels tried to get all those lost years, and or at least get out of retirement for one more match with DX and the Brothers of Destruction. That kind of in through the news, I think they kind of flopped with a lot of people, like where Shawn Michaels tried to do the moonsault and then he like basically landed on his neck and then Kane's mask fell off and Triple H suffered all those.
Like I say, anything that happens in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't exist in the timeline for me.
It's not. I mean, I'm not gonna criticize. Like I said before, I'm not gonna criticize Vince McMahon, but you really want to. It's good. It's kind of a good marketing tactic where you like try to get more money as possible. With Saudi Arabia.
You know what? On paper, it sounded like it was going to be an amazing match. It's just sometimes in wrestling things go wrong and it just spirals one thing into another, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I think that's the same event where that the best in the world tournament held, where honestly. I didn't watch the pay-per-views until WrestleMania 36. Like the full pay-per-views I got on the WWE Network and I got Peacock now, so I watch like a lot of the WCW and ECW pay-per-views lately. But honestly, to vent my perspective on the matter, Triple H is a good wrestler. Shawn Michaels, I don't know if you don't have the ponytail anymore, but I'm surprised that you still do the kip up at the age that you are. I was still shocked at that point.
Yeah. I've always loved watching Shawn work, because like I said, I got into wrestling really hardcore in like 2003, pretty much like right around, like not too long after he came back from his back injury. So he was the guy, between him and Triple H, those were the guys I saw on Raw every Monday, essentially. So no, I always did agree. I can agree with that, but I do think that Shawn back then was one of the best.
I can't argue with you. It's
Yeah.
it's basically almost a written fact, but
being away from the ring for that long, it definitely did show.
I mean, CM Punk hasn't been in the ring for 7 years, but he's still shined even in the worst of
Yeah.
times.
So like in my
Same for
opinion
Sting.
though, with that, he he was still very active with things, between MMA. He was doing that show with Stephen Amell, Heels. So he probably was training really well. And from what I did notice with that match compared to his old matches, he probably realized what he's still good at and what he's not good at anymore. So, and it's, something Paul Heyman always would say, hide the negatives, accentuate the positives. So he took that everything he can't do anymore, he threw him down here, and he took what he could do, and he just, took that to a whole new level. Whereas I feel with the whole Saudi Arabia match with like Sean and whatnot, they kind of try to be them old selves, and it just didn't work, unfortunately.
Well, what was the first? You don't have to like answer it like exactly. What was the first like type of match? What was the first guy that you saw that you got like into? Like, what was the first match that you've seen of wrestling before you knew what it basically was about? That, or at least one of them.
I don't remember the exact match it was, but the very first exposure I've had to wrestling was ECW, when it was on. What was it on?
The the
I don't remember what channel it was on, but I used to watch. I used to watch. Oh, what the heck was that show called? It was called like Roller Jam or something like that. There was that, and then there was like the basketball with like the trampolines and stuff like that. So slam ball. There was slam ball and like roller jam. Roller jam. It was basically like a roller derby or something like that. And whatever channel those were on, ECW was on like right before those shows. So I would always catch like the last like 10 to 15 minutes of ECW just because, I was waiting for those other shows to come on. But I didn't really know or understand wrestling at that point. Like I said, I'd be at a friend's house and like the Attitude Era, that was all during the Attitude Era. So I'd see like The Rock and I would know who The Rock is because he was The Rock, or who Stone Cold Steve Austin was because, who it was, but I didn't really like know or understand what I was watching at that point.
Well, I got into wrestling back in 2017. I've gotten fully into it, but 2016 I was first introduced. Where like
Okay.
one of my sister's friends' brothers, kind of complex, had a lot of like a wrestling collection, like with wrestling figures in the game WWE 2K15, and I was just laying down. I was just like chilling out and just like, why not play this with them?
Yeah.
I didn't know what it basically was, but until WWE 2K17 was the first concurrent game that I had. Audio, yeah, audio, audio.
Oh, it didn't work this time. Finally had the one time it didn't work.
I guess that marks 4. Was it 5.5, 6.5 out of whatever. Who's keeping? I don't know. But if it's so, hold on. Let me try.
Okay.
Now, I was gonna snap my.
I got you.
Okay, I was gonna snap my fingers like magic, just like abracadabra, abracadabra, abracadabloom. Right. How about this audio will be on Zoom? I don't know.
But no, it's funny that you say that because that was another thing that really got me into wrestling too. Was my friend had. Oh God! It was either SmackDown Shut Your Mouth or SmackDown Here Comes the Pain on the PlayStation 2. It was one of those, and that's what got me starting wrestling. Like at that point, I enjoyed watching it, but playing those games, we would always go through like the moves on like the creative wrestler stuff, and we are just like, hey, let's try a choke slam on the trampoline. We'd go out and do a choke slam. Okay, oh, a DDT. Let's try this. And then that kind of like got us in the mindset. We're like, oh, let's like put a match together. We went to Toys R Us and bought like one of those little $25 plastic belts, or they were like $15, $20 at the time. I don't know how much they are now, but yeah. And so that's how I started wrestling, is because those video games essentially.
Well, that was good for you. So was it Extreme Tools is coming up? Is a unification match yet again between Grim and Philly Mike Swanson, the GTS champion versus the YouTube Wrestling Figures Heavyweight champion.
Yes.
If you had to pick one to go over, or at least like fan wise or pro wrestling wise, who do you think would go over in the match?
Oh, to add earlier, Philly Mike Swanson, I haven't had a match against him yet. So that's another guy I would definitely want to wrestle. This is honestly a hard one to pick. I would like to see Philly win it again. I would love to do that, because when I'm better, I would love to challenge Philly for the title at that point. But I'm gonna go with Grim. I think there's no stopping Grim on this one.
Yeah, since it was his birthday recently, and there's this tragedy that happened recently regarding him.
Right. Saw that.
SWF. That was like after that promo where he gave to Ace Marksman after the match, and that kind of shocked me, to say the least. But he still went on to face violence. And
I was kind of surprised Grim did that, to be honest. I mean, I'm not one to, I can't speak for myself, because doctors have told me not to do things before, and I'll go ahead and still do them. So I understood where Grim was coming from. And that, that's where, again, I tie this all back to the whole respect Grim thing. Like, there's a lot of similarities between him and I appreciate what he does and everything. And, I can't deny what he did, because I probably would have done the same thing.
Well, if you had to pick a game that you played, like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain that you touched on, which even like the current ones and the old ones that you played, or like No Mercy, or WWE not Survivor Series. Well, that was a game, but WWE SVR 2009 or whatever. Which of the games that you was considered your favorite? Or is?
I'm trying to remember what year it was. It might have been SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 or 2007. It was definitely one of those years. I loved everything about the game. It had some of the best wrestlers of the roster at the time. The soundtrack, for whichever, I'm trying to remember. I've taken so many headshots that it's hard for me to remember certain things like this. But I'm trying to remember, because not too long ago, I think it was like last year, where like Tyler Breeze and oh God, what the heck's his name from the New Day? And I'm blanking on his name. Up, down, down. But they were playing
Xavier Woods.
Xavier Woods. I was gonna call him Austin Creed. I'm like, that's not his name anymore. But yeah, Woods and Breeze were playing like GM mode of it on Up, Down, Down, and that whichever one that was, that's the game that I loved. Like, I loved the GM mode. I loved the soundtrack. Like I said, had a great roster. The creator wrestler was really good. So, No Mercy was also top one. My friends and I always used to love. We'd have a few beers, and we'd do like Boiler Room Kane versus Kane versus Kane versus Kane matches for absolutely no reason. So I had some good times with No Mercy.
There was an imposter Kane, but I haven't heard the other Kane.
Yeah. We still to this day, some of us have working Nintendo 64s still. just a few months ago, my one of my buddies was getting married. So for his bachelor party at night, we brought an N64, and that's what we were doing. We were just drinking beers, playing No Mercy, and Kane versus Kane versus Kane versus Kane boiler room brawls.
So at SummerSlam, they had released some type of trailer for WWE 2K22, and they said it will hit different. And like seeing the gameplay footage later on, or you haven't seen it while you were watching, or when you weren't watching SummerSlam at the time. What was your honest thoughts on the game so far, and what are you thinking of getting the game for yourself to play in pastime?
I'll be honest, I haven't really seen any footage of it. I haven't bought a wrestling game in a lot of years.
Audie. Oh. Darn, the Nintendo Snap Switch didn't work.
So there we go.
Is it? That went.
But I was like that. I'm like that with a lot of games. Like any types of sports games. They get very repetitive for me. So I haven't really bought a wrestling game in a while, especially after the last game that 2K came out with? It was just so buggy and
2K20.
glitchy and
yeah.
So my honest opinion, I haven't seen footage of it, but I'm not going to go out and buy it until I know it's a working game.
So it's going to be coming out not this year, but next year in March.
Yeah.
So like right before WrestleMania, they're going to release that.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, as long as there's no bugs and super glitches, I actually might consider getting it just because it's been so long since I got a game. But boy, if it's buggy like that, no, it'll be a hard pass.
So when you were getting in the wrestling business, of course you attended, like you touched on, attending NXT events and meeting some of the guys that you would later actually, or that you actually met at Disney when you were working there. If you had to pick a moment in your life that was it's like, man, I've actually accomplished my dreams and I made it. Like when you at the moment, then what you're basically here right now. Like when you're still wrestling. Well, not right now, but of course you're basically have a little hiatus due to, of course, health reasons.
Yeah. My first feeling of that was probably my first professional match that I had back in 2009. Now, looking back on that match, it was absolutely horrendous. I critiqued the heck out of everything I did back then, but at the time I thought it was really good. But because before I was a wrestler and I was training and everything like that, I was going to local indie shows, and I would always tell myself, like, one day, like, I'm gonna be in that ring. Like, no one's gonna tell me no. I will be in that ring. So for me to be in that ring, in front of a paying crowd and everything like that, that was really it for me. Just the fact that I actually said, hey, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. Okay, I'm a pro wrestler now. Like, this is it.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't really had that, feeling since. There might be a couple things that would do that for me, but I haven't hit that quite yet.
So when you got to get to know your locker room buddies, like Lawrence Spiral and Philly Mike and James Gray, like you touched on, if out of the moments, was there any funny, try not to laugh moments, like in the ring or like an indie show, like that kind of shocked you, or basically an OMG moment at an indie show or GTS?
Lucky Leo will whisper sweet nothings into your ear in the middle of a match sometimes, just trying to make you break character. Especially back in the day, not so much our match at GTS, but we had one match on the pro circuit back in like 2009, 2010, and so yeah, he would definitely do that. Oh gosh. I don't know. Wrestling that match with Grimm too. A couple months ago. Because like I said, what you see on camera with Grimm is what you see off camera with Grimm. So like internally, I'm wrestling Grimm in this match, but like I'm laughing so much on the inside at the same time. Like I don't know. I couldn't help some of the shenanigans. But oh man, yeah. It's just when wrestlers like whisper funny things to you like during the middle of a match. Like that's my absolute favorite.
That's like kind of as like these days when I was like in the classroom, like think of some funny things to say, you know, like during
Right.
when you're not really interested in class. But don't get me wrong, I'm interested now because this is my, like I think I told you in the DMs, this is my senior year, so I hope to
Right.
graduate here with top honors. But besides that, when you were learning the ropes, you learned the art of selling. There's, of
Yes.
course, you knew how like the three original types of selling: overselling, no selling, and just selling in general, just like normal. Uh, was there a moment that you like noticed like a like noticed like an oversell or a no sell that was like unexpected to you?
Um. Hmm. So as far as an oversell goes, I used to use. Do you know? It's a move's called the Tower of London. It's what Nigel McGuinness does. It's basically a cutter from the top rope with the guy's foot hanging. And I was wrestling a guy named Danny Devine, and I did the move to him, and I just hear everybody going crazy. And I'm like, it's just a cutter from the top rope. It's not even that. But I turn around, and he like scorpioned himself. And I just remember saying, I'm like, oh God, Danny, why? But oh my God, that was probably the biggest oversell I've ever been a part of that I can think of. No, no sell wise. So there was another guy I used to work with. His name was Josh Wesker. He was one of my yard friends, and it was during our hardcore tournament, the Ring of Mayhem thing I was talking about. And I used to play the drums when I was younger, and one of my bass drum heads broke, or I was like replacing a set. So I grabbed the bass drum head and like, hey guys, you can use this as a weapon if you want. And our one friend Killa K hit him over the head, and he just sat there and started laughing. And we're like, come on, Josh, you got to sell it. And then he just goes, oh, yeah. And then he falls back.
There are those moments where just like
Yeah.
where you either get like throw a chair, or like hit in the back with a chair, or like get or just like getting hit with in the face with a chair. There's like, I'm not selling that. There's people
Yeah.
I know
No.
there's people in the wrestling business that don't really want to sell for certain wrestlers, but to
No,
each
and
their own.
I hate that mentality. Like, I really do. Um, Unless it's agreed upon before the match, that, or it's, whatever. Like, okay, kind of like I call it like the Ring of Honor spot, right? Where like two guys just, because I feel like they're the ones who really popularized it. Where it's like two guys just start beating the crap out of each other with like super kicks and like really hard punches, but like they're almost just like then they like both yell at each other. They're not like selling the punches at all, unless that's like agreed upon, like the Ring of Honor spirit spot, as I call it. Like I said, I think no selling is dumb.
Mm.
I no one gains anything from it, and the person who no sells it just kind of looks like a jackass.
I mean, the well, there has been rest WWE guys that no sell spots, but I mean, some of it
Yeah.
is because of their gimmick. Some of it's just because they don't like a specific wrestler. But
Right. And
I,
that's what it is. If it's a gimmick, then I get it. Like it's part of the gimmick, and especially for someone like WWE, that's not on them. This is what Vince is telling them to do. But if it's because you don't like someone, there's been plenty of guys I've worked with that I don't like on a personal level, but we kept it on a professional level once we were in the ring because our safety's in each other's hands. And really, the object of wrestling is to keep each other safe and to make each other look like $1,000,000. Like those are the two things you're trying to do. So if you're making the other guy look like crap, you're making yourself look like crap at the same time.
like for an example, at SummerSlam 2005, where Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels fought, where Shawn Michaels just basically
Yep.
like, oh, flippity floppity flap, let me sell all over the place, let me just get out of the ring, get back, and then take the
Yeah.
leg drop and just end the match.
I mean, it was funny as hell to watch, but at the same time, I look back on it and I'm like, it doesn't age well anymore, in my opinion. But then again, it's Hulk Hogan, so it's like, that didn't age well either.
So when you're not taking indie bookings or taking like taping wrestling for tapings for GTS, what do you do in your pastime while you're not working?
Yeah. So yeah, when I'm not working, I go on a lot of like nature walks and trails and that kind of stuff. I live in the Pine Barrens in Jersey, so we got a lot of woods in this area. So I like doing that, and then I like going to breweries. Man, I love beer. So yeah, I like trying to go to different breweries and trying different beers and stuff like that. Um, Next big thing I really want to try and do is I know Tony Deppen just opened up his own brewery out in Pennsylvania. I think he lives near like the Hershey area, if I'm not mistaken. So I would love to go support him, go catch up with him, and try some of the beers that him and his friends have made. But yeah, that's really it. Eat, sleep, go to the gym, work out, drink beer, go back to bed. Yeah.
Basically, repeat after all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then you would be on
Yeah, sure.
your way. So out of the obstacles that you overcame to get where you were today, and if you wanted to predict something in the future professional wrestling wise, or if you want in real life wise, where would you basically be, and what do you think the future holds for Tanner Wilson?
Man. My biggest obstacle is going to be my neck. Like I said, I mean, I still have stenosis. It's just, it's not bad. It's not as bad as the doctors thought it was initially. So that could really hold me back when it comes to a lot of stuff. There might be a lot of promotions that wouldn't want to take the risk of booking a guy like me because of, a situation like that. But at the same time, man, sky's the limit. I on and off try and talk to Ace Marksman to go to LTW. Got some contacts over at SWF and a bunch of other local New Jersey indie shows that I would love to try and get on at the same time. So I think 2022 is going to be a really good year for me. As far as branching out to other promotions.
All right, thank you for the time, Tanner Wilson.
Yeah, of course, dude.
It's been a pleasure, and
yeah, I'm glad we finally got to do this.
And I will be looking forward to you returning to GTS and possibly like SWF if you work those types of shows where where Grimm basically films. And I hope that you get back in the ring soon. Of course you will. Or never say never.
That's the
in
plan.
Wrestling.
That's the plan.
That's never say never. All right.
Never say never.
Hope you have a good day, Tanner. And
yeah, you too, Kyle.
Or if you want to get back on, just hit me up in the DMs and I'll be coming running. It's been training.
All right, man. See you later.
See you. Peace. Well, okay, that was Tanner Wilson, everyone. and he has his socials in the description of the YouTube portion. Tanner Wilson. He has a Twitter and an Instagram. I'm just listing off the ones that I know. Tanner Wilson is Twitter is at Tanner Wilson. I believe it's the same for his Instagram. Hold on, let me check if it is. I may be wrong. Yes, it is. But on Twitter, it's there's capitals with the T and W in his name. So that has been Tanner Wilson on the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. And coming up the 26th at 4 p.m., I believe, we're going to have a former 3-time WWE Tag Team Champion, Charlie Haas, on the show. And we're going to have a couple of other GTS superstars like Manabo and Soda Pop Smith, and maybe there's a few more that I haven't touched on. Like, there's a couple that I'm going to reach out to and asking. I think Daniel Pewter, the guy who had that shoot angle with that shoot fight, or at least the shoot with Kurt Angle. Derek Nykirk. I gotta correct myself. Derek Nykirk. Those are possible guests. But Charlie Haas is the one with the date. So, looking forward to seeing Charlie Haas. And besides promotional stuff goes, I hope everyone is having a good day, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And coming after this on YouTube will be a moderator applications. All right, and the moderator winner. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.